I'd like to call
Here. Reynolds.
Present.
Faulkner. Eklund. Here. DeVersa. Here. Russell.
Here.
President Bowles.
here. This time I ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Remain standing for the invocation which will be given tonight by the Reverend Dr. William Blair of the New Creation Assembly of God.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, into your hands we commit our fine city and its people. It's to you we give praise and thanks, and this past week we've celebrated your goodness to us in all of our gatherings with precious family and friends. And now as the holiday season fully envelops us, there are many things that we want to bring before you. The needs of our people, our community celebrations, the Christmas parade, the a cappella choir, the annual Nutcracker musical, and the youth ballet, and the many festivities in our schools. May these and the many special events in our local churches be an enriching source of delight and spiritual warmth for our people. Lord God, give us peace in our city and prosperity for citizens. And as our city leaders make plans and move forward in the business of the evening, let your good hand be upon us. Give these our leaders wisdom and grace to make the decisions necessary for us to rise above the circumstances and the challenges set against us. Cause us to be of one mind and heart as we seek the best for our city and its people. We thank you for all that you have seen us through, for your protection over our schools, our children, our police officers, firefighters, and our public utility workers. Cause our city to rejoice in your goodness, and may your blessing be upon us tonight. We thank you for your divine care as we enjoy life, love, and hope in this, your city. I pray, we pray, in the name of your Son, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So I have approval of the minutes from the October 24th voting session.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gruber. Do you have any messages from the mayor?
We have one. Dear council members, in November 2022, we have welcomed one new employee to the city of Jamestown, Joseph Morris, Court Security. I'm asking that this new hire be acknowledged and welcome to the city at the November 28, 2022 City Council meeting. Very truly yours, Everett Southwest.
Is that it? At this time, we give opportunities for people to address the council. If you'd like to address the council tonight, please step up to one of the mics. Give us your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council?
Good evening, my name is Melinda Stoller and I live at 17 West Cowden Place. I'm here to state my concern for the deteriorating condition of 15 West Cowden Place as it impacts my residents at 17 West Cowden. The side porch is in a state of disrepair and is a few feet from my house. This presents a safety issue for the tenants at 15 West Cowden and me. The roof continues to decline, and though there has been communication with Department of Development, there has been no change. And other residents have made code complaints, a neighbor behind me, and there should be a current open complaint on that. There's been people staying in the attic and there is no egress, which is another safety concern. These issues with 15 West Cowden, along with criminal activities requiring the attention of law enforcement, cause the neighbors to be discouraged. There was arrest during June 2022 for illicit drugs and evidence of drug trafficking. There has also been medical intervention for multiple drug overdoses at 15 West Cowden Place. These issues also impact some of the tenants temporarily living in the home or visiting. I do see occasionally some signs of positive change, which is encouraging. And I do have relationships with some of the people that live at 15 West Cowden, and I do feel that my relationships are positive with them. And as they do make changes, the changes are not permanent. They go back to previous behaviors and patterns of behavior. The many children residing on this street should not be exposed to these sort of problems, and the elderly deserve to feel safe and comfortable in their home and in their yard and in their neighborhood. And I can refer to my father, who lives at 11 West Cowden. He was very uncomfortable sitting behind his house this summer because of all the garbage behind the house and noise and just disruption and fighting coming from the house. Okay, so I understand that you've been trying to define what a nuisance property is, and it sounds like you haven't really come to a conclusion on that, but maybe you can update me. So my opinion is if a landlord has not made progress in improving the condition of their property, and there are continuous complaints regarding garbage and noise, along with the presence of law enforcement due to illegal drug activity and fighting, the issue has risen to a higher level. My concern is a lack of interface between the departments. This includes the Department of Development, the Mayor's Office, the Police Department, and the Fire Department. Because all of these departments have had some sort of involvement with 15 West Cowden. So if the interface is strengthened and communication improves, the problem properties can be correctly identified and improved or condemned. And I realize there are other problem properties in Jamestown that negatively affect the neighborhood and town. A positive aspect to improving conditions of properties, I have a couple things to mention here. Responsible homeowners will not be asking the assessor to decrease their taxes due to decreased value of their home as a result of living on a street with a neglected property. Another positive, if conditions of properties are improved and stable, the city will be better prepared to assist refugees who may want to settle in Jamestown with assistance from Journey's End in Buffalo. And I have a couple questions. What is the reasonable expectation to see action on a code complaint? And also regarding homelessness and emergency housing, is there a mechanism to allocate funds from various grants, including the American Rescue Plan, to assist UCAN and COI with plans for shelters? So how can you quickly assist in preparing the shelter for single women? I think that UCAN was working on that, and the shelter for women and children, actually UCAN was working on that one. And the one for single women, I think COI was trying to move forward with that shelter. So I'd like to know if there's an update on plans for these shelters. Maybe you have knowledge on that. And then regarding grants, are there any grants available? And is the American Rescue Plan, is there monies there to assist with that because of our situation with homelessness in Jamestown? Okay, I'm hoping the community can hold on to hope and realize it can be a powerful force in directing your motivation towards positive change. And also I'd like to quote Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans and thoughts that I have for you, says the Lord, plans for peace and well-being and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Director of Development here. She'll reach out to you.
If you'll stay afterwards, I can talk to you tonight, or I can call you tomorrow.
Anyone else like to address the council this evening?
My name is Anthony Choder. I live at 144 Clinton Avenue in Jamestown. The comments I'm making are based on reports in the media and also in the local newspaper, Jamestown Post-Journal. It starts with the land bank issue. I see you have that on the agenda for $1 million. Now, the land bank was created by law, by state law, in 2011 and actuated in 2012. The purpose of the land bank is not just demolition, as some city officials have said. This was not created for demolition. The purpose of the land bank is to acquire, even by purchasing, stabilize, assemble, and facilitate the redevelopment of blighted, abandoned, and tax delinquent properties to grow the tax base and improve property values of the surrounding properties. Land banks were formed by foreclosing governmental units, that means counties, to which the land banks are accountable. So they were formed by counties. The county executive has appointed members for the board approved by the Chautauqua County Legislature. Chautauqua County is under contract with the Chautauqua County Land Bank. As far as funding, over a period of years since the inception of the land bank, they were funded by lawsuits, fines on major banks, and that's how this started with the land bank. Millions of dollars by attorney generals of the state of New York, and also the federal attorney general has brought millions of dollars to the New York State for land bank operations, and that includes way beyond just demolition. That includes rehabilitation of properties, which is, and bringing back the tax base, which is the land bank's primary purpose. I'm opposed to ARPA fundings for the reason that ARPA fundings were not to fund a state-created and now a state-funded entity. Again, this is a state-funded entity. ARPA funds are specific to the city of Jamestown and what they do. So we're not supposed to be using ARPA funds to fund a state-funded agency. Those monies were given directly as an example of that is the mortgage prices for landlords. That money was appropriated directly to the state and funneled in to, supposedly funneled in to help the landlord problem. Now the misuse of, this is just a misuse of ARPA funding in my opinion. The Chautauqua County Land Bank should not be funded has been funded this year by legislation and signed by Kathy Hochul to a total of $50 million. Now, $15 million of that dollars was supposed to be for administrative purposes if the land bank asked for that money by the 14th of December. So some transparency is required here. Did the Chautauqua County Land Bank ask for monies for the $15 million statewide pool that was given for administrative duties for the land bank, i.e. What their paperwork, what the administrators are paid, etc., not the actual duties. Subsequent to that 9/14 and that $15 million, another $20 million has been appropriated for the duties of the land bank, which include demolition and rehabilitation duties. At the beginning of January in 2023, another $15 million, which would total the $15 million that was appropriated by state law, is going to be given to the land banks again statewide, again for the same duties of including demolition and also primarily rehabilitation. The remedy for the land bank lies with Chautauqua County and the state of New York. That's who have funded the land bank originally through the attorneys general and now through actual legislation of $50 million. The demolition of properties is not what the land bank was created for. Unless the land bank becomes involved in rehabilitating every property in the city of Jamestown, it has demolished or will demolish. And that hasn't happened either under Teresi or under the present administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council this evening?
Doug Champ, 225 Bowen Street. I'm glad to see other citizens here tonight. It's usually just me, and that's important, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit. Tonight is a annual fair. It's the approval or changes in the budget, the city's budget, our budget. And that's important because these are the numbers that budget represents. The mayor's budget, $38,681,768 as proposed for appropriations. This equates based on the
2020 census of around 28,000 people in the city of Jamestown has the equivalent value per person of $1,381,492 per person. Man, woman, child. That's how important this budget is. The effects of the budget and the spending process should not be taken as something that's just common, but how it's done, why it's done. Now, I have asked that the city council follow the city charter regarding amendments. November 10th is the charter's point of entry for amendments. We don't follow the charter, but we expect the citizens to adhere to the codes. Why is that important? Because tonight you're going to hear a myriad amount of amendments at the last moment. As a citizen, I've asked them to be known. They'll be known tonight. But in reality, they should have been known before. Not that I'm against amendments, but the charter, which represents your bylaws, is important to be followed and not ignored. And I believe the expeditionist point of using amendments is important in the financial management of the city of Jamestown. It's not something that should be taken lightly and automatically assumed that it can be handled at a night meeting and introduced. I believe there are amendments that should come forth. I've strongly talked about them for public safety. The public safety in the city of Jamestown benefits everyone that lives here. It doesn't isolate itself from the old or the young. If we don't have adequate public safety from the police and fire department, we all are going to have questions about our safety. So there are amendments that can take place because the mayor was brought on early on, and I asked him point frankly about his involvement in public safety and the budgets, and there was really nothing in the first year of his administration. But finally, through the American Rescue Plan, and a lot of arm twisting and talking and my pleading, we have invested in public safety. Now, the American Rescue Plan, which I know a lot about, you've heard me talk about it, had three keystones: public health, public safety, and economic recovery. It wasn't to be bannered around as a cure for everything. But when it trickles on down to the community, it comes by the aspects of the recipient, which is the city. The sub-recipient is someone who gets the money, and the beneficiaries derive that benefit. So when you go through this whole program of American Rescue Plan funding, the return on the investment to the community has got to be measured out, both short-term and long-term, as to what it is. Now, not-for-profits are an important part of our community, but the beneficiaries of those not-for-profits have to be measured out in terms of what the essence of the American Rescue Plan is. It was not to be set up as a giveaway process. $28 million, equivalent to what, almost $1 million per person in the city of Jamestown, over a 3 or 4 year period of time. So I asked you when you think about the remaining funds, and by the way, your webpage doesn't have the accountability up to date, I don't believe, on the money that's been appropriated up till now. I tried to figure that out. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't see it. So tonight we'll see amendments, we'll see a budget that either will go back for veto or pass forward. But again, I say tonight, as we go through these amendments, I don't think it's a good way to go through them at the end of the day. All city council are not alien to what's happened in this community over the last year. The Finance Committee under Kim Eklund has asked strongly for amendments to be given much before now. And I applaud her for her due diligence and her work on the financial side. However, it requires the other city council to actually introduce what they feel needs to be done. It shouldn't be like pulling teeth. Economics are important, but it's got to be something that we shouldn't sit here and watch 27 amendments come in front of all of us tonight. So, that's it for me, and I appreciate the people showing up and voicing their issues. It's important that they participate, because we have a city of apathy. We have apathy. Why is that? I think that's a question for city council next year, is how they can ingrain themselves in their positions of change and opportunity into the community. So apathy does not continue to grow.
Correction, it's $1,357.14 per person, not 1 million per person. I know I've looked at numbers a
Well,
lot
look
lately,
at,
but
divide it differently.
38 million divided by 28,000 is
Yeah.
1,357.
I lost a couple of dollars.
That's okay, I just want it clear. I wish we had a budget
Well,
as big as
I did it for the shock value. I gotta go back for
I was just testing myself as well.
Is there anybody else who'd like to address the council this evening? Okay, we'll move on. Are there any presentations or petitions and communications? Okay. We'll move on to the reports from our standing committees. We'll start with the Finance Committee, and the first 8 resolutions will be sponsored by Councilwoman Karuba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing payment of the regular audit.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with Jamestown Renaissance Corporation for office space on the 3rd floor City Hall for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution designating $750,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Economic Development Funds for the Business Expansion and Building Acquisition BEDA program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution designating $1,500,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Economic Development Funds from the Nonprofit Assistance Program, NPAP program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund. Aye. Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Ameriflex Corporate for a premium conversion plan and flexible spending plan from January 1, 2023 to December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the city controller to make an amendment to the 2020-22 general fund budget for mobile data terminals in the amount of $5,247.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase from SHI International Corporation 12 mobile data terminals for a total amount not to exceed $5,247.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund. Aye. Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an administrative service agreement with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield of Western New York to administer the City of Jamestown self-insured health insurance program for the period January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2023.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund. Aye. Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
resolutions will be sponsored by Councilwoman Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing Dan Stone, Mike Cady, Kelby Felt, Brandon Fain, and Adam Kyle to attend the ACRT arborist training on November 18th at the Punderson Manor Lodge and Conference Center.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Wilson?
I just have one question on that. Did they go?
I believe so. I don't.
I know that there was, because of the weather.
Whether it was
no,
an issue.
No, the mayor's not here. I just wanted, I know that I had talked to Dan.
Oh,
He was concerned, I mean, just if they rescheduled, did they actually go? Because that was the night of the storm, so that's fine, no problem. It's approved either way, whether they've gone or whether they will be going, I'm sure they'll be going if they do. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the city controller to make an amendment to the 2022 general fund budget for a replacement fleet maintenance truck in the amount of $52,534.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor and Jeffrey Lehman, P.E., Director of Public Works and Acting Director of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, to purchase from Bridgeland Auto Brokers Incorporated one used 2022 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD four-wheel drive regular cab truck for a total amount not to exceed $52,534.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution designating $1 million and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Healthy Communities and Neighborhood Funds for the purpose of the Land Bank Post-Pandemic Housing Initiative.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Nay.
And President Wilson?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution designating $500,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Neighborhood Stabilization Funds for the purpose of creating a permanent 19A homeownership program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Wilson?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution suspending the hiring freeze and authorizing the filling of one laborer in the streets division. This position is vacant as a result of a resignation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Wilson?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 2 with Arpatic Concrete Excavating LLC for concrete work, May Street 2022, based on a change order dated November 1st, 2022, for a total change of $6,391.03.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Diversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye. That concludes our resolutions from finance. We'll move on to public safety, and Councilman Russell will sponsor the resolution of public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution, local law authorizing use of video conferencing for meetings of public bodies.
That will automatically be tabled for 1 month because it is a local law. And just for clarification, that is what we've been doing for the last 2 years during the pandemic, and the state is just making this, well, a law that every community will have to follow. So we're putting it in our charter to make sure that we have that ability. We are tonight, we are taping and conferencing. It does also give council people, if they're not in attendance, the ability to be in attendance via Zoom. So if they're out of town, in business, if they're sick, whatever, they'd be able to do that. So it's basically reinforcing, putting into our charter what we have been doing the last couple of years. Because it's a local law, it's automatically tabled. That's it for resolutions, the five resolutions. Do you have any reports from special committees? Any reports from city officers? Reports from council persons on administrative boards? Is there any unfinished business? Under new business, we do have five resolutions, four resolutions, I should say. The first three will be sponsored by Councilwoman Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution adopting the general fund budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
I do have some comments before I propose the First Amendment. To answer Mr. Champ again, I know you've heard me say this to you personally and publicly. Although it is our intention to have amendments at the time, and I don't disagree that maybe we should look at that charter date again, it's often very hard because the timing of meeting with every department hasn't happened by that date. In all fairness, as most of you know, I will not propose an amendment until it's been fair enough to listen to every department. For fairness, also today to add or change something, and then based on a balancing act to get to a balanced budget that we are required to pass, I may have to change something again. So it becomes a moot point. It's not that we aren't talking about them, it's not that we're not throwing them out, but unless something is blatant and clear that needs to be fixed right away, we kind of have to leave some openness at the end. So I know you disagree with me, but that's okay, but that is the logic behind it. So now on to the 27 amendments, and again, I apologize for the length of this, but this budget had quite a few adjustments that needed to be made, and it came down to the 9th hour, so I appreciate your patience. First amendment I'd like to introduce is to increase the fire department in the salary line 8.3410, .0100, .0000, $93,953.20.
Hold council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bowles?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to increase the fire and police retirement line 8.9015.0800.000, $42,000.
Clerk, please hold council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bowles?
Aye.
Mr. President, I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the police department salaries, account 8.3120, .0100, .0000, for a total of $45,426.00.
Clerk, please hold council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bowles?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the Parks Department line 8.7110.0496.0000, flag and banners, $10,000.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please hold council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
propose amendment number 7 to decrease the fleet management water line A.1641.041.0000, $5,400.00.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase traffic line A .3310.0100.0000 for summer help, $4,000.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to propose amendment number 9 to decrease the bond principal, $8.9710.0619.0000 for the 2010A various purpose bond of $157,500.00.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on this amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the fire department line A.3410.0425.0000 under other equipment, $40,000.00.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley. Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the fire department, A.3410.04.0000 other equipment for rope replacements.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on.
Can I just make a comment on that, Mr. President? Both of the last two resolutions were equipment for the fire department, which is not included in the mayor's budget. The last one that we just voted on was for turnout gear for firefighters. We designated a lot of ARPA funding for new firefighters. Those firefighters obviously need equipment when they respond to fires. After speaking with the chief, the cost of one complete outfit for a firefighter is about $4,000. So that $40,000 that we just voted on will equip 10 firefighters. There's firefighters down there that have equipment that has a lifespan that's running out, so they needed new equipment, and that's why that was added in there. It was not in the mayor's budget. The second item that we're about to vote on is listed as rope equipment. What that is bailout or repelling gear. If a firefighter is up on the 3rd, 4th floor fighting a fire and he or she gets in trouble and needs to get out quickly, they can self-repel out of the window basically to save their lives. The equipment they have now is outdated for their call-out gear, but they've been trying to make it work. This amount of money would outfit every single firefighter to be able to have that safety equipment to potentially save their lives if they have to bail out of the window in a high-risk situation. Thank you.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a proposed amendment to decrease the mayor's office budget line A.1210.0451.0000 fees and subscriptions, $3,000.00.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund. Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm proposing an amendment to decrease the mayor's office, one education line, A.1210.0454.0000, $6,500.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Aversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Nay.
And President Bose.
Aye. please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Mr. President, I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease the City Hall building salary, 8.1620.0100, $10,000 and no cents.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease the City Hall building natural gas line 8.1620.0411.0000.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease central garage for natural gas account 8.1640.0411.0000. $5,000.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
And President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease the fleet management natural gas line 8.164.01.000, $2,500.
Thank you. Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease playground salaries, 8.7140.0100.0000, $5,000.
Thank you. Do you want to explain that?
All that is would be, try to make it a little bit more level based on what we saw in 2022 for participation and involvement, and not cutting the program will still exist, it's just a balancing act of the funds available to utilize the program.
And based on,
Attendance, based on attendance and last year.
What I hear you saying is we didn't use all of the monies from last year,
No,
so you're basing
we
that.
actually closed one of the facilities
Okay.
after starting. It's not two.
clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
And President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease the Human Rights Commission contractual services line 8.8050.0400.0000, $3,000. Comment is that this was also based on underutilization of the amount allocated.
Says here it was basically from 6,000 to 3,000, and year to date, they've only expended 103,000.
Correct.
So, clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Eglin. Aye. Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to decrease the DOD allotment contractual services, 8.8791.0400.0000, and that is for $3,000. Just a statement that I want to, before I forget to make it, that we tried to attack this from every department, and every department giving or getting as best we could. So there's no single pointing of any agency, any providing of any service, or any department in this suggestion, just to be clear.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Saruba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Eglin.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the police department new vehicle account 8.312.020.3.0000, $40,000 and no cents. Yeah, the comment is that we're trying to put vehicles into rotation so that they will not purchase a vehicle at a time instead of having to replace every vehicle all at once like we did with the other.
Typically, the police cars and the chief can weigh in on this if he chooses to. It's used 24 hours a day and often has 100,000 miles put on it in a year. So, and they get beat up pretty badly. So, like the other council members said, we're just trying to get a rotation going on these vehicles, so we don't run into trouble where we have to replace multiple vehicles at once.
Again, just for clarification, we did purchase the four with ARPA, those are the regular patrol cars. This one, chief, is for detective?
It's up to him, we didn't say, we're just,
Okay.
whatever he needs, we just allocated the money. I didn't pick one over the other.
Clerk, please call the council on the matter.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eckler?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Bose?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the sales tax revenue, $8.0000.1110, $75,000 and no cents. Oh, I'm sorry. 23. No, they're combined up above, that's,
You added it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same account. So on the table is the increase to the sales tax revenue, $8.0000.1110, or $75,000 and no cents. Yeah,
That's fine. The other two are combined.
yeah, they're the same account number.
Clerk, please call the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Aye.
Amendment to decrease meters revenue $8.0000.1740, $127,000 and no cents.
And this is in response
Response to the outbreak.
no meter change at this particular point with this resolution, or this amendment.
We heard from many people in the public that this was especially right now going to be very difficult for the business owners down here.
This has been a hot topic, obviously, and there's a lot of people that weigh in on it and say, well, if you go to other major cities and you see the amount of money that they pay, well, you know, I don't think we're always like other major cities. You know, we're hopefully in the tail end of a pandemic, we're out of that. I don't think it's fair to be pumping this money into our businesses, and then we're gonna turn around, through ARPA funding, then we're gonna turn around, we're gonna raise, meter rates and discourage people from coming downtown.
Clerk, please call the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eckler?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Bose?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the parking violations revenue, $8.0000.1590, for $40,000 and no cents.
Clerk, please call the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eckler?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Bose?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the EMS revenue line $8.0000.1545, $50,000 and no cents.
Clerk, please call the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eckler?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Bose?
Thank you, Mr. President. Finally, when I'm done introducing this amendment, I'll explain how the number comes out and how it works for those in the general public, trying to follow along in the process. So the last amendment that I have personally is to increase the fund balance allocation $54,879.20. How this number is derived is all these amendments that you just heard We had an increase to the expenses or expenditures of the budget of $92,879.20. We had an increase in revenue of $38,000 even. The offset of that is the $54,879.20. This will be pulled from the fund balance if this passes to make this budget balanced and no tax increase for the general public. That's it.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye. Are there any other questions or comments about the budget? Or we will approve the changes that we just passed tonight?
Yes, I would just like to commend Councilwoman Eklund for all her efforts and all that you're doing. In spite of people publicly, a lot of emails exchanging, trying to hammer this out and come up with a budget that would not result in taxes. But no one knows how many hours she put in. She has a full-time job, and it's commendable that she got all of this done at the 11th hour, in spite of a holiday, in spite of an inability to get answers to some of the questions that council members had concerning the budget and how we were going to make this balance and work. So there were some errors found, and it's to her credit that she helped us pass, or excuse me, at least help propose a budget that was correct, accurate to the best of our ability, and fair to the public. So thank you again.
And I hope she doesn't mind that. First of all, she also recently just lost her mother-in-law, so she was busy taking care of her mother-in-law, and then the death of her mother-in-law, and continue to work diligently on correcting the errors and moving forward with this budget as you see this evening.
Good job, Ken.
Thank you.
Clerk, please poll the council on the amendment to approve the budget.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye. Another resolution.
Resolution number 18, reappropriating $250,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Healthy Communities and Neighborhoods from the 19A Homeownership Program funds for the purpose of funding the Senior Citizen Home Improvement Incentive Program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I just want to make a quick comment. With these two resolutions, that should, maybe Ms. Surdick wants to weigh in on this, should fully fund the program that the DOD has diligently come up with to take care of our senior citizens here in Jamestown via the use of the ARPA funding.
It's through the,
Is it-
it's not hers.
That is correct, by the way.
It is correct.
Correct.
Right.
It's the assessor. We'll give you credit.
I just want to note that there's it's incorrect on this. The amendment should read from the homeowner, the home improvement incentive program, not the 19A program. Just wanted to point that out before you guys voted on it, so you guys don't have to make a change later on.
Makes no difference to, I think, to our voting on reading again, but again, it's the 19A Home Improvement Incentive Program.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Bose?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a resolution designating $250,000 and no cents in American Rescue Plan Act Healthy Community and Neighborhood Funds for the purpose of funding the Senior Citizen Home Improvement Incentive Program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Ruba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye. We'll now move on to resolution 20, which will be sponsored by Councilman Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a local law reapportioning ward boundary lines.
And again, this is the local laws that will be automatically tabled for a month. We'll be bringing it back up know we've had a redistricting reporting committee that met throughout the year. They came up with a plan. The plan has been finalized through that. It goes into the council. It's read, it's introduced tonight, and then it'll be officially voted on and decided. It has to be done by the end of the year so that we can get ready for all the fun and excitement next year. That was kind of sarcastic. That's it for resolutions. Is there anything else tonight under new business that anybody has? I just wanted to mention that, just to remind everybody that on Saturday evening is the downtown party starting at 6.
Six.
It's Saturday. It was at 6:30. No, it used to be Friday, it's Saturday now. Last year was Saturday, we went to Saturday, so. It will be this Saturday, hope to see. Looks like the weather's supposed to be pretty decent. The throngs of thousands downtown. Well, I guess they have, I found out they have something like 200 units, something like that. Wow. Yeah. It's gonna be quite great, so. Come on down, bring the kids. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of snow, but not a lot, just enough to keep it festive, so. Just a quick note too, on the budget, again, Councilwoman Eklund, thanks several times, she did a great job as the finance chair, looking through each line item and going through and working diligently. I know there was input from other council people that asked a lot of questions, a lot of input, and I know that Doug, I know your concerns about this. We go through this every year. It's very difficult in the time frame to get all of this put together, questions asked, answered, all the info. It's always smack dab in the middle of the holiday Thanksgiving week. But we did our best to try to balance off. Obviously, our goal was a no tax increase budget. We can raise taxes. We did want to include some equipment. Fortunately, with ARPA this year, we've been able to purchase a lot of equipment outside of this, but there were some other things that we wanted to include this year that we were able to do. So just took some jockeying around in a few different lines. And again, there were some mistakes that were found in the budget that had to be rectified. So it took time to kind of rectify those mistakes and adjustments, and then add to the things that, and particularly public safety, that we felt the turnout here for the fire department, the vehicles, for the police department, the kind of things that are important to the community. It's always a very difficult process, but I just want to thank the entire council for the input that they had, and department heads for being patient, answering a lot of questions and emails and phone calls and working through the process. It's never perfect. It's never easy. It may not be something that everyone agrees on, but we try to come up with the best plan we can and move forward with it with a consensus to deliver a balanced budget, one that's correct. I know there's some revenue assumptions there that they're always kind of a crapshoot, so we do our best. In many of those lines, you saw that there were decreases. It was based on previous year or info that we had. It wasn't just picking out numbers from a department and taking those out again. That's why I wanted Councilwoman Eklund to explain the Parks Department with the playgrounds that we looked at, what was spent and what's been the history of that the last several years. And so there was a lot of thought to not only the additions but the cuts as well. And so we'll move forward and do the best we can and hope that we have a good finish financially to 2022, and we can move forward into 2023 with a solid balanced budget. So I just want to thank everybody here for their work and their diligence on that. Is there anything else anybody wanted to add to our meeting tonight? Otherwise, that's pretty good. Any adjourned?